Hello YouTube, my name is Daryl Leary and this is my third video of my new video series where I speak about what I have learned from my own life experiences. Today I'd like to talk about what I believe. I have spent a lot of time thinking about what I actually know and beliefs that I had that were not necessarily supported by evidence but rather by assumption. I have come to realize that I do not really know a lot, and therefore many of my beliefs have been replaced with the conviction that I don't know. For example, I am an agnostic. I do not know if God exists. For me, it is an unknown. I believe the many arguments for and against God's existence are insufficient for me to draw an absolute conclusion. There are simply too many unknowns, unknown variables, and unanswered questions. I also do not think that an argument by itself necessarily describes reality just because it is logical and or reasonable. I do not believe that we can understand the universe by reason alone. This is why we have science and why science is dependent on making observations, then making predictions based on those observations, and testing those predictions with experiments. The existence of God is an extraordinary claim, and extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. The inherent problem with proving God's existence is that doing so is heavily dependent on how you define such a God. Therefore, defining God as a conscious, all-powerful, moral entity that intervenes within our lives is incredibly difficult to prove than a God who is simply described as a creator of the universe, because it is reasonable that something or some state led to the creation of the universe. But I am also not an atheist. I am skeptical, but I'm not cynical. I am skeptical of all paranormal and metaphysical claims, but I am willing to examine the evidence. Do ghosts exist? I don't know. Is there life after death? I don't know. And I think it is okay not to know. In fact, I think it is a logical reaction one would have to insufficient evidence. Just because I do not understand the why or the how does not mean it is supernatural or metaphysical in nature. Let's take UFOs for example. The UFO phenomenon is real. There are real unidentified flying objects. But just because I do not know what a flying object in the sky is, does not mean that it is a spacecraft being piloted by intelligent aliens. It means I do not understand what I am looking at. And the phenomena of people seeing ghosts is real, but it does not mean that ghosts are real. It means that the cause of the phenomena needs to be explained. And I have seen a ghost with my own eyes, and heard him speak, but I cannot deem such as conclusive evidence because I cannot rule out that I could have been deceived by my own brain or deceived by other possible influences. I could argue that God must exist based on strange coincidences within my own life, but my life is just one out of a billion lives, and my life could be a mathematical anomaly. I could even speak about how I felt God in my own life, but such a feeling could very well be some neurological effect of my brain. I think there is greater benefit to not knowing, in that we remain open-minded, honest, and do not make false assumptions. But I think another benefit to not knowing is that we do not posit absolute beliefs that could be absolutely wrong. And don't get me wrong, I would absolutely love it if someone disproved my skepticism, if someone did definitively prove that God or life after death did exist. I'd be jumping for joy. It would be the happiest day of my life. Not knowing gives me no agenda to persuade others to conform to any type of belief, because there is no belief to conform to. I just don't know. It does leave me with a lot of uncertainty about the reality of which I am part of. But I think it's critical to know what it is that we actually know and be aware of what we actually do not know, even those things which we thought we knew but were actually wrong about. Does Bigfoot or Loch Ness monster exist? I don't know. I would think the probability of their existence is low, but I would not say it is impossible. Do aliens exist? Again, I don't know, but I would think there's a fair chance that they do exist. I suppose it could be argued that we have to have some faith in knowing certain things. For example, how do I know that Donald Trump really exists? Well, I would argue that the evidence seems to very strongly support the existence of Donald Trump. And therefore I have a high confidence that Donald Trump most likely exists. But ultimately, I do not know 100% that Donald Trump exists. But I would say I have a 99.9999% confidence that he does indeed exist. Can we ever really know anything with absolute certainty? All I can really know with absolute certainty is that I exist within some type of reality. I am also skeptical of energies and holistic cures, especially if they're only supported by anecdotal evidence and seem vulnerable to the placebo effect. If they haven't been subjected to double-blind studies and those studies peer-reviewed, then they should merit skepticism. So I shall end this with two of my favorite quotes. Be skeptical, but do not be cynical. And do not be so open-minded that your brains fall out. Thank you. I am Daryl Leary.